Hi, I'm Abdul, content creator at Okteto. Welcome to this video. In this video, I will be demonstrating how to deploy and develop a Helm-powered application to Okteto Cloud. What is Helm? So Helm is a de facto package manager for managing a Kubernetes application, basically. And a Helm chart is a manifest, basically, that comprises all your other Kubernetes manifests, to make it easy to deploy and manage, configure, and even package your applications. I'll give you a scenario. Say you have 10 manifests, that have basically the same values. And you have to create all of these manifests with repetitive values, having to put the image name in each one, having to put, maybe selectors and all of this in one at a time. It can become tedious and you can, make mistakes. But how do you manage all of these manifests? Use Helm charts. It makes it easy. And in Okteto, the backbone of Okteto is Kubernetes, and we take pride in making development easier for you. So today I'm going to demonstrate how to deploy your Helm charts application. Since it works for Kubernetes, why shouldn't you? You have 10 microservices that you manage with Helm charts. You're worried about how do you want to develop them? How can you spin up a dev environment with all of them? You can use Okteto using the Helm charts option that we have. So in this video, once again, I'll be showing you how to use Helm charts. I will guide you through creating a simple Helm chart for a recipe application that is built in Fast API. And then we're going to just briefly look at the context of the charts, make some changes, and afterwards we're going to deploy it to Okteto, and then we spin up a development environment to see how we can also develop our Helm charts part application. And so the first step is to clone the GitHub repository. We have a sample GitHub repository already in place. So I'm going to say git clone https github.com/Okteto. I'm going to recipe app. I'm going to make use of the default branch. Oops. Okay. Okay, so now we've done this. And now that we have application cloned, we go into the repository and we can see we have just basic file. So we're going to open this in our editor. We're going to make use of PyCharm. Okay, so we have PyCharm spinning up. I'm going to look at the application briefly. Okay, let's see. Cool. In our application folder, we have an API.py file, that's a Python file, where we design and create the routes for the application itself. Then we have the model. That's, that determines how you query data into and out of the API. Then we have our Docker file here, which, we use to build the application's image. And then we have the main.py file, which is the entry point. That is, you want to start your application, you can just use Python main.py. So before we move further to Helm, because when using Helm charts, we make use of image application images. This could be deployed to Docker Hub. You could do them locally and then deploy, whichever one works for you. But in Okteto, we make things easier so you can build your application images in Okteto so you can easily pull them at will. And so before we build our application image, we install Helm. I have Helm already installed, so I'm just going to confirm my Helm is installed. And my Okteto also is installed to CLI. And so I need to set my Kubernetes context and even my Okteto context, because when I run commands, I want my Okteto CLI to be able to say, okay, yes, I want to deploy to this namespace here, Abdulaziz-Okteto. How does it know what namespace to use and all of that? So I'm going to say Okteto context use https cloud.okteto.com. This is because I'm using Okteto Cloud. If you're an enterprise user, you use the URL designated to you. So when I run this, it checks and then sets the right context for me. So you can see using the context, my namespace name here. And now the next command I have to run is this, so that it gets my Kubernetes credentials. So I'm going to run to context update kubeconfig, so that when I have to deploy my Helm chart application later on, I don't have to set the Kubernetes credentials. Okay, point to this namespace and point to that. No, it makes it easy for me. So now that this is there, the next step is going to build our application's image. Like I said earlier, you can build your application's image in Okteto, It's much easier, and you could optionally use Docker Compose. I'm sorry, Docker Hub if you like. So I'm going to make use of the build service Octeto build minus t. That's the tag. We have octeto.dev. That is, I want to push it to the Octeto registry so I can pull it at will. I'm going to call this recipe app, and I'm going to call this latest here. So when I run this command, like every normal build, it's going to build my application's image, and once it is completed, it pushes it to the Octeto registry. So the first step is to connect to the build kit service, and after that, use the image, then push it. Then we have our image ready, and then we can move on to building the Helm chart for the application itself, because you have the image, but how can you now deploy it? We're going to see how to do that soon. Okay, I think we're almost done here. Okay. Cool. So now we have octeto.dev/recipe app latest has been successfully pushed. Good. So the next step is going to be to create the Helm charts. We said Helm charts, they are charts, it's a manifest that we used to deploy, to package everything. So how do you do that? We make use of a Helm CLI. Okay, so Helm creates charts. Yeah. Okay, Helm creates charts. And it's just creating charts. So when we check our projects directory, we can see the new folder has been created. In the new folder created, we have series of files. We have templates. We have series of files. We have Helm ignore. That is, what should I ignore when pushing? We have this chart. Let's start with the charts.yaml file. This is responsible for how application is should I say showcased, because we configure the name of application here, and we also put a description and the type of application we're deploying. So let us change this to say recipe app, and we're going to say a Helm. Let's say description should Helm powered application, or should I say empowered? Sorry, fast API application. So you can also choose to. All of these are constants. You can change them, but the main thing you're concerned with is the name and the description. Let's move on to values.yaml file. So in values.yaml file, this is where you make all the necessary this is where you add all the necessary data you need. Your image name. Are you creating a service account? You can see the ingresses, the resources, the replica counts, and all of that. So let's look at the image section. The repository, that is, where should we get? What should we get? Remember our image that we built was this octeto.dev/recipe. So I'm going to copy this, paste, and then it's latest. That is, this tag here means you could choose to deploy a particular version of that particular application. So we're going to choose latest. Okay. So you also need to configure image pull secrets. This is where you do this, override service account. So we are not creating a service account for this application, so we turn this to false. And then we look at other things. You can see the service. On that service, we have a cluster IP type and have a port. So we change this to a load balancer and port 8080. The reason why we change this to port 8080 is because in our Docker file, the application listens to the port 8080. That's the port that is exposed from the image. And then the ingresses, if we need to configure anything, the ingress, you make all of these changes here. The resources, auto scaling, and all of this is made in the values here. And then we go to the templates folder. You have the helpers or templates file. And the helpers or templates file, it's basically, pulling off the details from previous charts. Like when you say .chart.name, it means check the chart manifest name. So instead of having to, manually fix all of these names and everything, it pulls this. We have this template file that does all of this for us. Likewise, we can see this is this name of the chart section. This is the full name. We want to create the chart name and the version. The common labels that are included in Kubernetes manifest. So instead of having to repeat them every time, this is added here in the template file. So which one do we have? We have the helm.sh one, and there's one that is not there, which we like to put. Let's say app.kubernetes.io/name, and this is going to be include charts. Charts.name. If that's correct, let's see. Okay, it should work. Oops. Okay, good. So we have selector labels. You can see the name and the instance is also there. You can see and then you create the name of service account. So you're creating a service account. This is responsible for creating a service account. So now that we have all of this looked into, we move on and see the deployments, the YAML file. That is your actual deployments. What manifest controls it, how is it done? Now you can see that in our manifest here, like every other Kubernetes manifest, we have the kind, it's a deployment. The name, instead of manually fixing it, it pulls it just includes charts or full name. That is check from the templates, what is the name of our application. The labels, when it say includes this, it means bring all of these labels that we have here and then fixes it automatically. That requires the selector labels, templates, spec, the containers, and all of that. So we also go back to, okay, so in our deployments, we look at the container section here. You can see the name of the section, you can see the container ports. And remember when we were building our image, we exposed port 8080, so we changed this to 8080 here. And then we move on to let's see, we have everything in place. Okay. So before we deploy application, let's do a quick walkthrough of what we've done. So we created a Helm chart using the Helm command. But before that, we built the application's image. That is, we have it prepared so we could use in our Helm chart. Then we, configured our Helm chart, the name, the description, and then we looked at the values, all these things are needed, changing the service type, the image name, and the tag. We don't want the service account, so we turn this to false. Where is it? Service account. Oops. Yeah, yes. Then we look at the templates files. These templates here. We check all the selector labels, everything's in place. Look at the deployments. Check that the container port is properly exposed, and everything is in place. Okay. Now that we have this in place, the next step is to deploy our application to my Okteto namespace. If you look at my application namespace, it's currently blank, and now we have to deploy. So I'm going to deploy using Helm. You just say Helm install, the name, recipe, app, and then the charts folder, which is charts that we have. Then you deploy your application. When your application is deployed, you have a response that tells you, okay, yes, it's been deployed here, and a series of commands to run. And you can see you have the name has been deployed, last deployed, that's this. You have the namespace that it was deployed to. You can see the status, the revision, and notes. So when I go to my dashboard, I can see my application currently booting up. You can see the recipe application is being booted. And my endpoint has been generated automatically. So like every other mode of deployment, Helm chart works the same way. So when I click on this works. I have my, let's see. All of this is working. So I can see this has been pushed, the memory is running, my route is working. Okay, so the next step is going to be developing the application. So now, how can you develop this application that you just created? How does it work? So the first step is to create an Okteto manifest by running the command Okteto init. When you run Okteto init, it walks you through creating a manifest. Okteto init checks to see if there's an active deployment in your namespace, and you can see we have one recipe application. So when I click on this, it analyzes its deployment so that it can provide the adequate tools. For instance, this application is a Python application, so it knows that, okay, yes, I as a developer, I'm going to need PIP, maybe I'm going to need Python, I'm going to need maybe virtual environment tools and all of that. So Golang application is going to provide all the Go tools I also need. So now my manifest has been created. Let's briefly look into the manifest and see what's there. You can see the name, you can see the command bash, synchronization. I mean, sync everything from here to the app folder, the forward ports, the reverse ports, and the volumes. So now that I have this, I'm going to spin up my development environments, which is going to be Okteto up. When I run the Okteto up command, the application state here changes from running to in development. That is, you are now in control of your application. You're in control. Okay, so we're just going to give this a moment for it to change, what the status to change. And you can see our development volume, persistent volume has been created. which is going to be used. And the benefit of using dev environment is your original deployment is safe. You don't have to worry about crashing production or anything. Nope, it's safe. When in development mode, Okteto makes use of this persistent volume that it creates and stores the files there. Once you exit your container, you go back to your normal application the way you left it, and that's how it should be. So this reduces the conflict, in development and production, and that's why you should use Okteto, so you can see all of these issues before you merge into production. Now, the Okteto dev environment is an ephemeral, it's an isolated environment that makes working easier. It gives you an environment that what you see is what you get. It is particularly useful because it models a real life production server. That is, if your application fails to run in development mode, you best believe it will not run in production, because this is a real life scenario that you have here. You have your development applications that are being pushed to Kubernetes. So you know that yes, if it can't work in an actual real world sense, obviously it won't work when in production. So in development mode, like I said earlier, you're in control, you're in charge, you start your application yourself. When I go back here and I maybe click on my endpoint, I'm going to start your application, the port to get it started. Unlike production, when you just deploy, it automatically listens to the port and starts it, but here it doesn't. So you say it's not listening, so you have to start. So this is a Python file, so I'm going to say python main.py. And it says my application has been started at this port. So let's see if indeed it is listening to it. And I can see that my application is started. I'd like to emphasize again that the use of these development environments, I don't have to use Docker or use any other tool or have to push and build anything. And so if I want to make changes, this is a what you see is what you get environment. This is my favorite feature to talk about always. So now when I make changes to this application, does it reflect? I guess we'll find out. So when we go back to our app and go to API, I will change the welcome message from let's see, to welcome to Okteto app powered by Helm in development environment. And I save this. My application is automatically updated and rebuilt, and then I can see my changes when I reload my application here. I can see welcome to Okteto app powered by Helm in development environment. This is insane because the application is synchronized remotely from your local folder to what is deployed in Kubernetes, and Okteto makes this easier for you. It's the main facilitator. So now it means if your application crashes, let's say there's an error here. Let's say I forgot to maybe properly declare this, my application fails. And when I go back here and I reload my application, I can see that it keeps loading, meaning there's an internal error here. So if this were in production, you have to pull down the whole application. How do you make all these changes? But in development environments, you can easily see all your issues and errors before pushing. So now that it's fixed back, when I go back and I reload, everything is back to normal. And this is how you make changes in your Helm charts using development environments. And that brings us to the end of this video. And before we, round off, I guess just do a quick recap of what we've done. The first thing we did was to clone the repository. After cloning the repository, we looked through the image Docker file configuration. That is this. We look at, okay, what to build, what are we exposing? Looked at the API files, look at the routes and everything that works. Then we built the image using Okteto build service directly to the Okteto image registry, so we can pull it at will. Now, after that, we created the Helm charts. Then we have the folder. We looked at the charts configuration file. We look at the values. We look at the templates. We look at deployments and all of this. And after this, we installed the application using Helm install. An application was deployed to Okteto namespace that you can see in the dashboard. And after deployment, we spawn a development environment so we can, see if indeed Okteto does not lie about, it's beautiful development environment. So, and then we're able to see changes that simply we make changes for my local environment here. It is synchronized. All of this is done without the need of excess resources, without the need of Docker, without the need of any special tooling. When you use dev environments, the toolings that for your application are automatically provided. That is, all your tools need not be installed again. And so when I make my changes now, I can also even create files for my development environment and to reflect here. And that brings us to the end of this video. At Okteto, we make developing application easier by providing development environments and preview environments. If you would like to learn more about Okteto and what we do and how you can leverage Okteto's products to make developing easier for you, your company, enterprise, or anybody else, please schedule a call. The link is in the description. Do have a nice day. Thanks.